everyone, welcome to the webinar for Print Deploy. I'm Fiona, I'm the product marketer for Print Deploy. This is Willem, product manager for Print Deploy.
Thank you, Fiona. I'm super excited to share with you everything about Print Deploy. We've been working on this feature for a long time and it is going to be an amazing impact to your customers.
So before we share with you this awesome information, a couple of housekeeping things. If you have any questions, which I'm sure you do, please be sure to type them in the chat box. And at the end of the webinar, we'll get through as many of those questions as we can. If we can't, we'll send some follow-up answers in an FAQ document. So Willem, should we get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
So let's take a look at what we're going to cover today. So we're going to look at the industry trends and some of the problems that have come about that PaperCut's now solved, the Print Deploy solution, the features and our cost structure, how to position Print Deploy within PaperCut MF, some of our launch dates and launch collateral. So Willem, let's get started.
All right. So when we look at what to develop within PaperCut MF, we go and look at what are the problems that customers are being faced. And this statement really stood out to us. 76% of CIOs are worried that IT complexity will make it impossible to manage performance effectively. Well, you know what? Complexity, that is what we solve. And this was an exciting challenge to take on. So let's look at complexity in the printing world. So back in the 1990s, it was super complicated. So just to get printing to work, you had to do hardware hacking. That started getting simpler. So around 1995, it was all about getting just that right driver to work with your printer. But during the 2000s, printing really became easy. Microsoft dominated the market. Everyone almost had Windows devices. Very common to have an on-site Active Directory and a print server. You join your device to the network and through a group policy, just deploy your print queues. So from a printing perspective, it was not that bad. But then the 2010s came and BYOD and mobile became very popular. So with this, the IT teams now had to solve printing for mobile devices, so including iPhones, Androids, and then also from a BYOD perspective, users were using MacBooks and even Chromebooks together with Windows as well. So in 2017, we launched Mobility Print. Now, Mobility Print had a huge impact on the BYOD and mobile space. But you know what? There was another trend as well in the managed space. And this is what we're going to go after with Print Deploy. So in 2019, the aim is to deploy Print Deploy to get printing back to the simple days of the 2000s. And let me go a little bit more into some of the trends in this managed print space. So going from left to right, so first of all, the workforce has become a lot more mobile. So people moving between branches, campuses, and stores. And when they walk into a new branch, the expectation is for printing just to work. So, put yourself into the shoes of that person being probably already 5 minutes late for a meeting and quickly have to print a document. Now, the worst situation is printing, the printer needs to be set up. So where do they go? How do they get it set up? Another big trend is, especially in smaller branches where there is no print server infrastructure. So of course, when you want to reduce costs and you don't want to maintain all these servers in all your branches, one way is just to get rid of it. And then when it comes to the choice of which operating system or which type of computer users use, they've got a lot more choice now. So in the 2010s, when a new staff member joins an organization, they're typically handed their Windows machine. But nowadays, quite a common question is, while you're joining next month, what computer do you want? Do you want a Mac? Do you want a Windows? And nowadays, even a Chromebook as well. And then the last big trend is devices are not necessarily joined to a local domain. So two big call-outs here is G Suite and Azure AD. So in Azure AD, currently over 700 million users are being managed. And Google currently has over 5 million G Suite customers. So these are entire organizations, 5 million, and they're adding more than 1 million a year. Now, like, it's great to manage your user identities in the cloud, but then when it comes to printing, for you to be able to solve printing, you need to deploy a local Active Directory. You need to set up a print server to join that local Active Directory. You need to manage your users and passwords locally and then sync that back up to the cloud. So all this value that you're getting from your cloud identity management system is held back by printing.
So Willem, it's all these complex type of environments that are really going to, I guess, benefit from a feature like print deploy.
Yeah, no, definitely. Print deploy is going to have a massive impact. And I do want to focus a little bit on the first two cases, talk about the mobile workforce and when a customer has multiple branches. So currently they do have a few options, but these are three bad options. So one option is they can hire more support staff. So of course there's going to be additional cost to hire the people, but it's also a lost productivity because now end users have to call someone to get help just to install a print queue. The other option is they can build an in-house tool or script the deployment of print queues. But with this, the customer requires a specialized skill set and also many hours of IT time to develop and support. Now, one example I want to call out is Cambridge University. So we've been working with them as well, and they've spent over a year worth of hours building and supporting their in-house Windows-only tool to deploy print queues. That's a year. Imagine how they could have spent that money on something else. The other option is customers can go and buy additional software purely focused on print queue and driver deployment. But with this, it's additional costs again, more infrastructure, more software to support.
So Willem, really with the options that are available today, they really are still an IT resource drain.
They are. And you know what? Worst thing is, they don't even solve the local Active Directory problem. So you can invest more, but you're still stuck with a system that's just not ideal. It's expensive, it's hard to manage.
So tell us a little bit about what PaperCut's solution is.
All right, so that's why we built Print Deploy. So Print Deploy takes the complexity out of print queue deployment by getting the right driver and the right print queue to the right person in the right location automatically. All right, so how it works. So first of all, you'll set up a reference computer. And on this reference computer, you make sure that you install the right driver. You set your default settings like grayscale, duplex. You set your finishing options, so your capabilities. So things like stapling, hole punching. Once you're happy that that print queue is set up and the print job comes out the way you expect it, you run the cloner tool that comes with PaperCut Print Deploy. This cloner tool will essentially grab your print queues, your drivers, your default settings, your capabilities, and bundle it up so that you can go and deploy it out to all your users. The next step is to configure your deployment zones. So within the PaperCut admin interface, you can set up different zones, typically for each branch. And this branch, you will set up a IP range. So when someone joins that IP range, the app server would know, okay, well, this user is part of this zone. So when you configure these zones, you also attach or connect the printers you want with each zone, which then brings us to the next step, is actually the deployment out of these queues to the end users. So we've developed a small print deploy app, and this print deploy app you can push out to all the end user computers through your favorite tool like SCCM, GPO, Jamf, Intune, or you can even install it manually on end users' computers as well. So what this app does, it runs in the background as a service, and it will check on startup, are there any new print queues to install on the end user's computer? And also then every 15 minutes, and this is configurable. It will check, are there any new print queues to install? And then also when you change your network, so let's say you move into a new Wi-Fi network, or you walk into a branch and you connect to the network, it will detect that your IP address changed, and it will connect to the app server and ask, are there any new print queues to install?
So this is a really dynamic solution.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter where the user goes. In the background, these print queues will just appear. So they don't have to worry about manually installing anything or asking someone where to go and find printers. The right print queues and drivers would always follow them around.
So really, it sounds that it's a really simple solution. So you're cloning your print queues, you're configuring your zones, and you're really deploying the print queue app. And that's really it.
And that is it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter which operating system either. And you know what the best bit is? Just enjoy that silence on the support line as print queues just magically appear on your end users' computers.
Awesome.
All right, so this is just a bit of a different view of the same information, but on the left-hand side, there you can see your reference computer with all the queues and drivers you want to clone. In the middle is your print deploy management console, so it's in the app server. That's where you manage all your zones. And on the right-hand side are all the branches that you're deploying these print queues to. So here's two examples, branch office 1 and branch office 2. Now in branch office 1, in this scenario is probably a bigger branch, and they do have a print server. Now that's supported, you can deploy those print queues out. But when it comes to branch office 2, we've made it really simple as well. So even though in branch office 2 there is no print server, the print deploy app will automatically in the background also configure the PaperCut direct print monitor. So this direct print monitor gets deployed, it starts monitoring all the queues that were deployed by print deploy. And with this monitoring, there's essentially two important value that you get from this. So the anonymous printing is stopped. So you can actually track who's printing what. So from a cost perspective and from a privacy perspective. And then also you get secure print release. So users can go to any printer in that branch, can release their print job. So yeah, like super easy to deploy in any scenario.
So it's very flexible, Willem. I think that's what you're saying, that whether you have a print server or whether you don't, this will work equally as well. So you don't have to worry that, will the solution suit my customer? You can be pretty confident with this solution.
Exactly. And let's have a quick look at what it looks like. All right, so here's the admin interface. On the right-hand side, you can see all your print queues. So assume you've already cloned your reference computer. All you do is you connect it to your zone, hit save and deploy, and then roughly in 15 minutes, all those queues will be pushed out to all your end users. Once you click done, you'll see at the bottom, you can download your end user client for Windows and Mac.
And Willem, tell me a bit about the Chromebook and Linux. So that's coming soon, right?
Yes, it will. So shortly after launch, we'll be adding support for Linux and Chromebook as well. And the good thing is you don't even have to go and update your print deploy or PaperCut MF to get these two new operating systems. The same way that we automatically update mobility print deploy will automatically update as well. So as soon as we push out those updates, they'll become available.
So there's no extra support from the reseller perspective. Customers can get up and running as soon as they need to.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right, so from an end user perspective, they only have to authenticate once, and this is to support those non-domain joint devices. Once that they've authenticated once, the print queues get deployed in the background, and we're using that identity for two reasons or two purposes. One is so that we know who you are, so that we deploy the right print queues out to you, and the other purpose is to associate the print jobs with you. So again, so that anonymous printing is stopped, and also so that you can securely release your print jobs.
So Willem, as soon as the end user logs in, the print queues pretty much automatically appear. Is that right?
Yeah, and this authentication is just a once off. So when they go to a new branch, it's not like they have to re-authenticate. in the background, the queues appear and they can just continue doing what they're meant to do. So open their document, edit their document and print. So by the time their document is ready to print, the print queue is there ready for them.
So there's no end user downtime.
Yep.
Okay, Willem, so there's been customers who are already testing out print deploy. Tell us a little bit about the customers.
Yeah, so we've actually been working with early adopters since January this year. Here's a few names, but I do want to call out one. So this is a government organization in New Zealand, and they're that typical use case of a customer using Azure AD and their device is not being joined to a local domain. Now, this was really important for them because for two reasons. They can manage more of their services in the cloud, but also it's supporting their new security model where they're not reliant on their network for security purposes. So it's not about back in the day where someone joins a network and then gets access to all the resources. They want to remove that. So a user is just joined to a network, or they connect to a normal Wi-Fi or a network. But the thing is, we're allowing printing to still then work. So they asked, we have Azure AD, we have Intune, our devices are not joined to a local domain, but we've got one big problem. It's like, how do you actually solve printing? And we work closely with them, and they've been starting to use print deploy since January. And we've been working with other customers as well.
So you've got a range of different customers that have used print deploy. You've got across government, utilities, education. So really print deploy can work across verticals. And
from the beginning, our focus was not just to focus on one type of customer, because so many customers are dealing with the pain of mobile workforce and devices not being joined to a local domain. Like, all those problems go across all these different customer bases. So we made sure that we got early adopters also from these different segments, market segments.
And I suppose as well, having customers testing so early on means that we're really developing a feature that is fit for the market.
Yeah, and it's also not just about being fit for the market. It's that it's been tested out in the field, people are using it. So when 19.1 comes, it's not a new feature. It's actually been used already out there in the field. So it will be a solid solution when we launch.
Yep. So if we have a look at our features and pricing, do you want to tell us a little bit? We have a standard and advanced feature set for print deploy. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Willem?
Yeah, so looking at the standard option, and this is an option that comes with PaperCut MF at no additional cost, but it is powerful. So you get to set your defaults like grayscale, duplex. You get to set your capabilities like finishing options, stapling, hole punching. With this option, you get one zone. So if you need to deploy print queues out to all your staff and everybody gets the same queue, this option is perfect for you. You get support for domain joined and non-domain joined computers. Serverless printing is supported. Classic printing is supported. And then at launch, we're supporting Mac and Windows. And as mentioned previously, shortly after launch, we'll be supporting Linux and Chromebook as well. When it comes to the advanced print enablement pack, this option of the feature is focusing on those customers with multiple branches, with people moving between branches. So with it, you get multiple zones, and with each zone, you can set up IP-based filtering. So where a user is, and you can also set group-based filtering, so based on who someone is. So let's say you have a branch with permanent staff and you have a branch with contractors. You could potentially deploy different print queues out to your staff versus your contractors.
So our standard version, Willem, is in product, ready to go. as soon as the customer logs into the print enablement tab in PaperCut MF. Is that right?
Yep. Yes. So just like mobility print, it comes with PaperCut MF. Solving printing for your managed PWD and mobile out the box. But then if you're that larger customer or customer with more complex printing needs, they can go for the advanced print enablement pack, which gives them that extra level of control. I do want to call out that the group-based filtering is not going to be quite there yet at launch, but it will come shortly after launch as well.
And again, there's nothing for organisations to do in terms of getting that. It will automatically be there once it's launched.
Yeah, so for the advanced print enablement pack, they'll just have to make sure that they have that license to get that feature, but they don't have to manually update PaperCut MF. All right, so when it comes to pricing, earlier the year, PaperCut went through an exercise where we simplified pricing. So taking away user-based pricing, for example, taking away site-server pricing. Now, we wanted to keep with that simple way of selling PaperCut when it came to the advanced print enablement pack. And we therefore went for a flat fee plus maintenance and support, so that when you or your resellers go and speak to a customer, there's no need to discuss the amount of printers they have or print queue profiles they have, or if it's a fast-growing customer, you don't have to talk about how many branches they'll have by the end of this year or in 3 years' time. Also, you don't have to worry about talking about the amount of users. So it's all about providing the customer with a sense of confidence and control that there will be no ballooning costs over time.
So with the new, the no ballooning costs over time, Willem, that really means that it doesn't affect the lease terms, this print deploy.
Yeah, so for you or for a reseller going out to a customer, like 2 years into a lease, you don't have to go back and have a conversation about just increasing the SKU specific for print deploy because they've run out of user seats, or they've opened a new branch and now you have to go specific to this item. Resellers can focus on selling copiers and the overall solution, but keeping the details like this out of the conversation so that you can just talk about the value.
So we've talked a little bit about the pricing structure. So let's talk a little bit about who's this for and how you position for different market segments.
Yeah, so the first one here to focus on is that distributed sites with mobile user customers. So when speaking to a customer like this, there's a few things to focus on. So the one is like for the customer that they'll be saving time deploying queues and drivers easily at scale. So this also brings down cost, because if your IT team doesn't have to spend that much time installing print queues, they can have a smaller IT team, or they can go and do something more important than installing print queues. The other one is also reducing IT support load with a no-touch solution for end users. So once that service is running up on the end user's computer, their print queues will just automatically appear. So they don't have to call IT support to help install a new print queue, which means that support load goes away. And then lastly, increase end user productivity. So that story around, someone being late for a meeting, urgently just need to get a print, like a document printed, like they're not blocked. They can get their work done because printing just works.
So, Willem, we know from speaking to a lot of customers that this is getting print queues out in distributed sites and also with mobile users. It's a big issue. So really this print deploy will save time because they can get the drivers and queues out quickly. It's really no touch for end users, so there's little IT support load, and it really makes end users more productive.
Yeah, and let's have a look at some of the other customers as well that will benefit. All right, so And there could be a crossover here because typically a distributed site or multiple branches will also, in some cases, not have print servers. But if a customer doesn't have a print server on these branches, there's a few things that you can focus on. So again, saving time when it comes to like this installation of the print queues, reducing IT support load because again it's low touch solution. Well, actually once the service is up and running, it's a no touch solution for end users, so they don't have to call support. Again, increase end user productivity. But two ones to call out here is adding security, because now on these branches, you can have secure print release. Like back in the day, it could be that users just printed directly to all these printers at a branch. But now with this solution, Print Deploy, you stop anonymous printing, you get secure print release, and also you can start tracking jobs as well. So security and stopping anonymous printing, two big things to focus on in a print serverless environment. All right, so for a mixed fleet of computers type of customer, and again, this would be the majority, you can talk about reducing the effort. So needing to deploy drivers and queues to Windows and Macs. And just a reminder that Chromebooks and Linux will be coming soon, and increasing end user productivity because printing just works.
So really the complexity of having end users bringing all sorts of computers is no longer an issue with Print Deploy.
Yeah, it's just one solution to manage printing on all the different devices. All right, here's two big things. As I mentioned, Google has 5 million G Suite customers, adding more than 1 million a year. Azure AD currently manages over 700 million users. So you are going to come across these customers, and I'm sure you already have.
And you gave the example before about Orenga Tamariki that fell into this category, right?
Yeah, and it comes through all the time. So many people, like we have so many tickets where customers reach out to us and say they're using Intune, they have Windows devices not joined to the domain, they're using G Suite. Like, how do I solve printing? Well, you know what, Print Deploy is the answer for all those customers.
So what are some of the benefits for these customers, Willem?
Yeah, so it's all about saving money and IT time on purchasing, maintaining, and supporting on-prem AD just to deploy print queues. So, you know, getting the most out of their cloud identity management system. But then also from a security perspective, they can start removing some of these components where identities are being managed. So keep users in one place in your cloud identity management system and use that security and get PaperCut to authenticate straight with those systems.
So this is awesome because with Print Deploy, they actually don't need the on-prem Active Directory just to deploy their print queues. So it's a huge savings there.
It is. And speaking to customers, like the cost of maintaining that Active Directory server is phenomenal. So big investment just for that pain, and also all the pain of managing users in two places. Like all that pain is going away with Print Deploy.
So let's look at how to position PaperCut now with Print Deploy. It's really strengthening the story and the value we can add to customers. So let's look at that, Willem.
So the big change here is like now PaperCut MF is one complete solution for print management and print queue deployment. So what does that actually mean? It means that if a salesperson goes and speaks to a customer, they can start really to focus on all those printing needs from a customer. So talk about their managed environment. Like, do they use Azure AD? Do they want to get rid of a print server? Are devices joined to a local domain or not? Then speak about BYOD. Do people bring their own devices? Do people need to print from iOS or Android devices? Now with PaperCut MF and Mobility Print and Print Deploy, like your BYD, mobile, and managed printing is solved. Also, with PaperCut MF, you can solve print room and 3D printing through job ticketing as well. So, like really, all your printing needs are covered.
So it's really a huge breadth of the solution, and we can now enable printing for managed, BYOD, mobile, print room, and 3D. So there's so many different customer scenarios that we can solve problems for now.
Yeah, and it really makes that sales cycle easier as well, because in the past, a lot of this was put on the customer, where they need to go and solve, getting printing up and running, and then you put PaperCut on top. That conversation goes away. Now PaperCut MF actually comes and solve printing for the customer. So just stepping one level higher, so of course PaperCut is not just about printing. It is about enabling, tracking, controlling, charging for printing, scanning, and also copying. So just calling out a few examples with features like print deploy. We have loads of security features as well. It's secure print release. You can talk about archiving. You can talk about watermarking. We have mobility print for BYOD and mobile. We have huge amounts of reports to get that visibility in environmental impact and costs. We've got integrated scanning with OCR, scan to the cloud. And then we have solution for 3D and print rooms as well. All of that in a single software product.
So you have all the feature-rich platform that was PaperCut MF, but now we actually also can deploy the print queues with print deploy. We have simplicity, reducing complexity. It's feature-rich, and it's also hugely flexible.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the foundation that we built on it. With every feature we add, we always focus on ease of use and flexibility. So for resellers going out to a customer's site, it really doesn't matter what their environment looks like. You can have a conversation about the value that PaperCut brings, but you have the confidence that PaperCut can work in that environment.
So let's look a little bit at how this solution can also help our resellers. We've looked at how it helps customers and all the different types of customers it helps, but let's talk a little bit more about how it also helps our reseller channel.
Yeah, so like I just mentioned, it's a single product that solves so much more. So now it solves print queue deployment as well as print management. And because it's a single product, for resellers, they can reduce their support and operational costs by consolidating products. It increases, specifically this feature, print deploy, increase customer longevity by enabling and managing the print environment.
So tell us a little bit more about what you mean by increasing customer longevity, Willem.
So this feature fundamentally changes the way that IT teams run their operations. So the way that they're deploying print queues, the way that they're supporting their end users. And this is not something that the IT team will want to get rid of anytime in the near future. So let's say it comes time for renewal of copiers. They're not going to want to move to a different solution and a different software vendor or like a solutions team because they would want to keep that current way of solving printing for their end users. So
it's much more integrated into the way they print.
Yeah, the way they print and the way that their support team operates. So very, very sticky solution. Then when it comes to pricing, it's simple. So again, the focusing on make it easy to sell, having easy conversations, focusing on value. And then there's added extra customer value as well, because like I mentioned in the past, a lot of these problems were still the customer's problem, but now resellers can actually step in and actually solve print drivers and print queue deployment for the customer as well. Now again, this might be dependent on where a reseller wants to go, but it is an option. So if they want to take it on, this feature is definitely adding that opportunity.
So, Willem, we've talked so much about all the awesome features of Print Deploy, who it's for, the pricing structure. Let's look at, actually, how about you tell us a little bit about the launch dates, and I will talk about the marketing deliverables.
And I'm sure a lot of people have been wondering about this from the beginning of this presentation. It's like, okay, cool, just tell me when we're going to get it. So let's just go a little bit back to January again. So a reminder that we've been working with early adopters since January, and we're a year in June now. So our focus now is introducing Print Deploy to partners.
To all of you guys.
Yeah, and very much focusing on enabling you to go and have a conversation with resellers and with customers as well about Print Deploy. We'll be extending the early adopters slightly, but it is going to be very selective. So at this stage, our focus is more on getting ready for the production release coming out in 19.1, but we're open for a few more.
Willem, if anyone has any customers that would really benefit in the immediate future from Print Deploy, how would they go about getting in touch with you?
Yeah, so just email me directly at, you're probably not going to get the spelling of my surname right, and we'll share it out, but willemgroenewald@papercut.com. And yeah, so we'll see if we can help you based on who the customer is or what their problem is. But just be warned that for most customers at this stage, we'll have to say just hold off until 19.1.
Which is when?
So in July and August, we're making 19.1 available. So in July, the general available release will be out. And then early August, we're bringing out the GA, the general availability release.
Okay, fantastic.
And then, as I mentioned a few times, there's a couple of things that will not be there at launch, but we're going to be adding these features through continuous delivery. So extending the zone rules, including that user group-based filtering, extending the operating system, so for end users to be able to print from Linux and Chromebooks. Now, when it comes to operating systems, on the server side, at launch, we will have support for Windows, Mac, and Linux. We're only talking about the end user. Also, at launch, we're not going to have non-English languages in the product, but that will come shortly afterwards as well.
And this is all continuous delivery, so there's no new software releases to install. These will automatically be available to end users, customers, and yeah.
Yeah, and Mobility Print really proved that that's the way to go. It's really, again, reducing that effort, complexity for end customers. It's a product that just works. It's a product that updates. So all those features will automatically become available. So Fiona, tell us of how you're going to enable the resellers and our partners to have a conversation.
Okay, Willem, so the collateral that we are going to be making available, after this webinar, we'll be sending out the presentation with the audio. We'll also be sending out the deck if you would like to use that and yourself. We'll have a one-pager that we're sending out that can be used with customers. It really is a leave behind. We're updating our MF and NG fact sheets. We'll be putting together positioning documents. We'll be providing the pricing SKU list and a range of videos, for example, our how-to animated videos, and all the other great things that we usually do, like our website updates and our social posts. And we'll be running some campaigns, so keep an eye out, and we would love for you to reshare those and get the word out about Print Deploy. So that takes us to the end of our Print Deploy webinar. We're so excited. It's been a while in the making, and Willem, yeah.
Yeah, and I must say, seeing this in action and seeing the impact it has with our early adopters, I'm super excited about 19.1. And you know what? It's around the corner. It's almost here.